In this video, we are going to have a look at the Synco TS wireless microphone. We are going to have a look at its features, do some indoor and outdoor tests to test its audio quality and its working range, and I will also include a setup guide to help you set up your Synco TS microphone and get the best settings. Kia ora, good morning everyone, Rich Wong here. Welcome back to the channel. I have reviewed the Synco G1 not too long ago, and today we are looking at Synco's latest wireless microphone, which is the Synco TS. The Synco TS and G1, they share a lot of very similar technology and design, but the TS also has quite a few things that is quite different from the G1, and there are some new features that was not available on the G1. Now, before we go too deep into the features and do more testing, let's go outside first and do some outdoor testing, and then we will come back here and continue the review. Wireless microphone has been really popular in the last year or two. On my channel, just last year, I think I have tested quite a few different wireless microphones. And the reason, I think there are many reasons. They are very convenient. You know, you don't have the wire that is connecting your from your camera to the microphone, so you can place it anywhere. So it's really good for doing vlogging or like doing interview at location. It's very easy to set up. And also the price of the wireless microphone is also getting a lot more affordable recently. For example, this TS microphone, if you buy the single microphone set, the price is only $149 US, and the double transmitter set is only $199. So the price, I think, is definitely a lot more affordable than compared to just a couple of years ago. And the quality of this wireless microphone is also getting quite a lot better compared to what we have quite a few years ago. Now, one thing I want to do a quick disclaimer first is, I am a Synco ambassador, but one of the reasons why I accept to be a Synco ambassador is that when I ask them, okay, now after I've been an ambassador, is that I can only talk about the good thing about your products in my reviews, and they give me the answer is definitely not. I am allowed to do the review just exactly the same as before, so I can talk about the good things, the bad things, the things I like and things I don't like about the product. So that is something not many companies would allow their ambassador to do, and that's the reason that I'm happy to be the ambassador. And so this review, I will try to keep it as fair and also as unbiased as possible. This Synco TS is a UHF microphone, so it is a little bit different to the other 2.4 GHz microphone in the market. Now, if you ask me what is the difference between the 2.4 GHz and the UHF microphone, I would say, honestly, even though I have a master's degree in electronic engineering and I understand all those theories behind the frequency, the wavelength, bandwidth, etc., I do not really know the actual real-world difference when you compare the 2.4 GHz to a UHF wireless microphone system. I do know that under some certain situation and location, the UHF microphone system may work better than the 2.4 GHz microphone, and then under some other situation, the 2.4 GHz microphone may work a little bit better than the UHF microphone. But then under most situation or location, both the 2.4 GHz and the UHF microphone will work equally well. One biggest advantage with a wireless microphone system is that you don't have a wire that connecting the camera or the audio recorder from you. So for example, right now I have the camera just sitting there. I am able to just freely walk around, walk away from the camera within a reasonable range, and the audio quality should be exactly the same. With this Synco TS, the maximum transmission range according to Synco is 80 meters when you don't have a direct line of sight, and 150 meters when you have a direct line of sight. I have done a bit of testing in my home, and I placed the camera and the receiver in my room, which is at one end of my house, and I wear the transmitter and walk around my house and even go up to the second floor. And even when I am on the second floor and at the extreme opposite end of my house, well, my house is not a really big house, but when I was testing the other wireless microphone systems, I found that most of the time when I get to the second floor and get close to the opposite end of the house, then the audio was starting to cut out. But with this Synco TS, the transmission was almost perfect no matter where in my house I'm walking to. So that is definitely pretty impressive. Now right now, since we are outdoor, let's do a bit of range test and see if I walk quite a bit away from the receiver with a direct line of sight, how is the audio transmission, whether the quality is good or not, or would I have a lot of cutout. Okay, now I'm outdoor testing the Synco TS, and I have two transmitters with me, one set to high power, one set to low power, so that I can see how far I can go with the transmitter at different power. Right. Okay, now I'm about 10 meters away from the camera. Let me keep going. And now about 20 meters away from the camera. And keep going. And now about exactly 30 meters away from the camera. And I am going, keep going, keep going, and keep going, about 40 meters away, and going, and right now, let's see how far I am away from the camera. Let's see, about 60 meters away from the camera. Right, and then I keep going and going, and let's see how far I am. Okay, I'm next to the tree, which means I am about 80 meters or so away from the camera or the receiver. And let's see, check again the distance. Yeah, it's almost exactly 80 meters away from the receiver. And I'm now keep going, and keep going. Walk another almost 20 meters away, so I should be almost around 100 meters. And let's see how far I am around. Let's see. And right now I am 110 meters away from the receiver. And let me keep going and going and going, and I am another probably 20 meters away. So now I am, let's see, I am about 130 meters from the receiver. And now let me keep going and going, and let's see how far away I can go. And now I'm here. Okay, now we are back here, and let's continue the review by talk about the design of this Synco TS. The Synco TS comes in a very typical Synco style protective case. This one, which is very nice quality, and it is very similar to the one that comes with the Synco G1, but the size is quite a bit bigger because the transmitter and receivers of the TS is a little bit bigger than the G1 transmitter and receivers. When you unzip and open the carry case, you will find the two transmitters and the receivers are all at the lower half of the carry case, and then you will find all the accessories are hiding at the upper half of the case behind the pocket. Now, probably because Sinco want to minimize the size of this carry case, so they place the two transmitters vertically at the lower half of the carry case. So that's a good thing because it does help minimize the size of the case compared to otherwise you have to place it horizontally. But one little downside is all the accessories that are stored at the upper half behind that pocket, you have to make sure you push them in a little bit. Otherwise, if you have them near the left half, then you may have some problem when you want to close the case because the transmitters will be sticking out a little bit. So yeah, just make sure you push all the accessories in when you put it back into the case. The Sinco TS transmitters and the receiver has a very similar design, but there is one big difference is the transmitter has one foldable antenna while the receiver has two foldable antenna, one on each side. If you have watched some of my other wireless gadget review, one thing I have complained a few times in the past is a lot of the gadgets, transmitter and the receiver, they have identical design. So it could be a little bit tricky when you want to quickly set up your equipment, but this is not a problem at all with this Sinco TS. When I first saw the product photo of the Sinco TS, and actually even when I first received the sample and when I unzipped the carry case and look at it, I thought the transmitter and the receivers are both made of metal, but when I pick it up then I noticed it's actually not true at all because the outside casing is actually made of plastic, but somehow Sinco got some nice coating on it that make it look like it's made of metal. In some way, the plastic construction help minimize the weight of the transmitter and the receiver, but I thought I should point it out in case someone is buying the TS and expecting the transmitter and the receiver is fully made of metal. One thing I really like is that there is a display on both the transmitter and the receiver. While the display is not really big, but it is pretty bright and it does display a lot of very useful information. For example, on the receiver, you can see the connection status with both the transmitters. You can see the channel, you can see the signal strength, you can see the battery status of both of the transmitters, and you can also see the audio level received in real time as well. We have a few buttons on both sides for you to change the settings, and then we have the USB port, which is a USB-C plug at the bottom of the unit. At the top on the transmitter, you have a built-in microphone here, but you can also plug in the supplied lapel mic onto the unit, and there's a IR port as well. Now, if you look at the back, both the transmitters and the receiver, when you take it out of the box, it comes with a clip, which allow you to clip onto your shirt or onto something else. But it's slightly different to the G1 in the way that the clip actually doesn't slide onto the hot shoe. With the G1, you can just use this clip to also attach it onto the camera's hot shoe mount, but with the clip on the TS, you couldn't really do that. So Sinco has supplied a hot shoe mount. So if you want to attach it onto the hot shoe mount, which would probably be your receiver, what you need to do is that you should just slide this clip out from the receiver, and then you can slide this hot shoe adapter thing onto the receiver and tighten it, and then you can mount the receiver onto the hot shoe mount of your camera. Apart from the hot shoe adapter, there are also quite a few other accessories that come with this Sinco TS. We have two different audio cable. One is a TRS cable, one is a TRRS cable for you to connect the Sinco TS receiver to different recording devices. You can use the TRS cable to connect to your camera or audio recorder, or you can use the TRRS cable to connect to your smart device. One thing I noticed that is a little bit different about the audio cable that comes with the Sinco TS compared to the Sinco G1 is the cable that comes with the Sinco G1, there is a little sticker there that tells you what sort of device you should plug that end of the cable to, which is great. One little problem is, after using the G1 for a couple of months, one of the sticker fell off the cable. So with the TS, what Sinco has changed is, instead of using a sticker just stick onto the cable, they now printed the actual icon onto the cable directly. Now that is a pretty small change, but that kind of tells me that Sinco is always trying to improve their products and trying to improve the design, even some of the very small details. It also has a little user manual, which is this one. It is pretty nice because there are quite a few pretty clear diagrams that explain what are the buttons, the input output ports, and also the display on the transmitter and the receiver. However, I wish there is also a section that talk about the settings that is available on this Sinco TS, because there are quite a few settings that's available on the receiver and the transmitter of the Sinco TS. So especially for the newer users, they may not really understand what are those settings for and how it would affect the audio that is captured by the Sinco TS. But don't worry, because you're now watching this video, and that's why the next section I'm going to include a step-by-step setup guide to help you set up, connect, and also get the best settings for your Sinco TS. Before you start, just make sure you fully charge both the receiver and the transmitter using the supplied USB cable. To set up the Sinco TS is actually pretty easy. The first thing that you should do is pick the audio cable that is suitable for the device that you use for recording. So if you are using a camera or a normal audio recorder, then you should pick up the TRS cable and then plug it into the receiver. So if you follow the icon that is printed on the cable, and then you can plug it into the receiver and your camera. If you're using a smart device, you pick up the TRRS cable instead of the TRS cable. So now once you have the audio cable connected to your receiver, and the next thing, just power on both the receiver and the transmitter. The Sinco TS should automatically pair the transmitter and receiver and get them to connect at the same channel. But if they don't, you can manually select the same channel on both the receiver and the transmitter, and also the same group, and then the transmitter and the receiver should be able to transmit the audio successfully. The transmitter on the Sinco TS has a built-in microphone, so if you want, you can just record audio using the transmitter by itself, but it also comes with a lapel mic for each of the transmitter. So you could also use the lapel mic and plug it into the 3.5mm input jack at the top of your transmitter. But if you want to capture the audio that is output from another audio equipment using the line output, the Sinco TS also support that as well. Just make sure you go to the transmitter's setup screen and change the input from mic to the line input. The next two steps are very important, but they're also very easy. The first thing is, make sure the antenna on both the receiver and the transmitters are always pointing upwards. I saw quite a few people using the TS with the antenna just in the folded position. They didn't unfold it and point it up. This will greatly impact the audio transmission from the transmitter to the receiver, and that means you may have audio cut out when it really shouldn't be. So make sure the antennas on the transmitter and the receiver are unfolded and point upwards before you start recording. And the second step is also very important, and that is to set the output volume that is captured by the TS, and that should still only take you around 1 minute or so to set it up properly. So the Sinco TS transmitter, you have 15 level of output volume that you can adjust. So first thing you should do is check if your camera or the audio recorder allow you to adjust the input audio level. Most camera in the market or the audio recorder should allow you to adjust that, and if they allow you to adjust that, then adjust it to like a mid level, which usually is a good middle ground between the audio level and the noise level. And then If your camera has a headphone output jack, then plug in a headphone into your camera. But if your camera doesn't have a headphone output jack, then you can plug in the headphone to the TS receiver's headphone output port. Then, for example, if you are shooting an interview, then I will have that person speak in the normal volume level, and then on the transmitter, I would slowly increase the volume from 0 to 15 until you start to hear some clipping. And once you hear that, then I will dial down the volume setting by 2 to 3 levels. That is to allow the TS to capture loud enough audio but avoid clipping. There's a mute function on each of the transmitters, so if you want to mute the audio output from each of your transmitter, you can use that to mute it. Just make sure you unmute it when you want to record audio again. One thing you have to be careful is the mute button on the transmitter is a little bit easy to trigger by accident. So be careful, don't touch that mute button when you don't want to mute your device. If you notice you are having a lot of cutouts or your transmission range is a lot less than usual and you already rotate all the antennas so they are all pointing up, then most likely it's because you are having some radio interference. To fix that, it's very easy. On the receiver, there is a auto scan feature. Using that feature, the TS will find the best channel for the audio transmission. So once you find the best channel on the receiver using the auto scan feature, you just need to update the channel on the transmitter to match the new channel. There's also a low cut filter setting on the transmitter as well, and what that does is it can help you to filter out the unwanted low frequency noise that is in the background. For example, if you have the air condition running in your room, it may generate some very low frequency noise in the background. So you can enable the low cut filter to remove those kind of noise. And there's also one more setting on the transmitter that you may want to have a look, and that is the RF power setting. So you can choose between low and high, and what that means is if you choose it at low, the transmission power will be set at the lower level. That means the battery would last longer because it's not using as much power to transmit the audio from the transmitter to the receiver. So that is suitable when the transmitter and the receiver is at a relatively close range. When you have direct line of sight, then you can keep it at the low level to extend the battery life. But if you are recording where your transmitter and the receiver are quite far apart, or there are few walls or other obstacles that is placed between the transmitter and the receiver, you may then need to change the setting to high level. So normally I would leave the RF power setting to low to extend the battery life, but if I notice there is starting to have some audio cut out because the distance is getting too far away, then I will change to the high setting. There are also many different settings on the receiver as well, but I think the most interesting one is you can choose between mono and stereo mode. When you are capturing using two transmitters, if you set to mono mode, what the receiver does is it will just mix the audio capture from both of the transmitter into a mono channel, and that means all the audio are just all mixed together, and that is what you should choose if you don't want to do any post-processing of your audio after recorded. And if you set it to stereo mode, what TS does is that it will record the audio from each of the transmitter into one of its audio channel. So the left audio channel will record the audio from one of the transmitter, and the right channel will be recording the audio from the other transmitter. So that allows you to adjust the volume that is captured by each of the transmitter or the microphone separately in post-processing. So in the case that you want to fine-tune the audio level in post-processing, you should set the receiver to the stereo mode. I have just unplugged the lapel mic so that you can hear what is the audio quality like if you record using the built-in microphone. I'm now testing the Synco TS using the built-in microphone. Kia ora, good morning everyone, Rich Wong here. Welcome back to the channel. Right now I'm testing the Synco TS wireless microphone using the built-in microphone on the transmitter. I'm now testing the Synco TS microphone using the the supplied lapel mic. Kia ora, good morning everyone, Richard Wong here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are testing the Synco TS microphone, and right now I'm using the supplied lapel mic. The battery life seems to be pretty good. The factory claim figure is 8.5 hours. I haven't really done a test to see whether it can last 8.5 hours or not, but over the last week or so, I've been just testing it with only charge it once, and both the transmitter and the receiver, the battery is still not flat yet, so I definitely have used it more than 4 to 5 hours. So the battery life definitely is pretty impressive. If you have watched my Synco G1 review, you may have remembered I said something like, I really wish the G1 has a display, because without a display, it does make some of the usability not really quite as good as it could be. But now the TS, it does have a display. It is not a really big display, but it is good enough that it displays all the information very clearly, and it makes adjusting settings a lot easier if you compare it with the G1. But while overall I'm pretty happy with this Synco TS, there are two things that I really wish that Synco have included with this TS. The first one is the Synco TS transmitter. You can choose between the low and high power setting. This is the manual adjustment. I really wish Synco make it an automatic adjustment, so the TS could automatically switch between the low and high power setting. That would be a lot more convenient, as the user doesn't have to manually look after and change the setting between the low and high power setting. So the second thing is, I really wish Synco could include that safety backup channel feature that is available on some of their microphone as well. So what that is that when you are recording, it would record the same audio but in two channels, and one channel is at a slightly lower level. So in case your audio suddenly go too loud and start clipping, then you could go back to your backup channel to restore and rescue the audio footage. I think that is a very useful feature for people who want to use it for vlogging, because you'll be traveling around and the audio volume could be changing quite a bit. So having a safety backup channel would be a great feature if Synco can somehow include it in this TS. But having said that, there are always features that I would love to see in each product that I review, and Synco has already packed a lot of features in this pretty affordable wireless microphone.